All right.
Bread, lampshade,
6:15 start time. We got a hard start and a hard stop today. We got the freight coach.
What's up?
Chris Jolly joining us today. Brandon is on vacation at a brokers gathering with friends. And Nicole is out probably just spreading knowledge throughout the United States. I'm not sure exactly where, but we got Tony Darnell, voted top 5 shipper in Northern Indiana by the
by who?
By RV.com, an Elkhart publication. So, hey, listen, the cool part is this is a topic we all probably just dealt with today. A lot of today was wrapping up. I mean, you don't want to come in Friday and still have stuff to do when it comes to these loads going into the holiday weekend. I figure let's touch, on your topic that you kind of had this week, Chris, with one of your, I think was it your Tuesday thought topic? I think it was your current market opportunities. We talked about. Let's start off with that. Kind of lead us in on that there, and we can get rolling.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's every change in a market, everything is an opportunity if you allow it to be an opportunity. It's not that anything we're currently facing is unique in the sense that market shifts happen every single year. And really, as a broker, like as much as shippers hate these, this is our opportunity to kind of prove ourselves, when their current providers are making the mistakes and doing everything that they had promised that they would never do. Now it's like not, I'll just come out and say it. When you fall off of a shipment, but don't say anything, or your phone doesn't all of a sudden work when something goes wrong. Like, this is such an easy fix, and it seems so simple. And I cannot believe the amount of times that I bring this up. It's always going to boil down to communication, you guys. No matter what, everybody in this industry understands that things happen, that there's delays, that trucks break down, that shit falls apart sometimes. It's how you communicate it, and you communicate it with a solution, not, hey, this happened, and you're gonna have to fix this now.
How often have you ever, when you were brokering, when you were working as a broker, did you ever ask a shipper, how much communication do you want? Do you want pickup confirmation, morning and afternoon and evening updates? You want just, we got it done, don't talk to me ever again? Has anybody ever offered that? Have you ever had anybody ask you for a certain level of communication?
Yeah, no, 100%. And a lot of that was laid out in like the RFPs and stuff that I would operate in. Is like, hey, you need, because we were working in TMS at that point. So anytime we marked the load loaded, they got notification that it was loaded. And then, like later on in my career, I went above and beyond when it came to a communication standpoint, because it's just like, why lie? Like, why try and fabricate something? Because, freight goes to our customer's customer. Like, I don't understand why we're trying to like hold out and try and withhold information. Like, just be honest. If you don't have a truck, just say you don't have a truck. Like, I honestly feel now that customers would appreciate the honesty more, and you not overcommitting and under delivering. I think that's just a huge problem out there, is so many people are like, oh, I'll just take everything and do everything. Then they fall apart, they fail, they don't say anything. And then they're like, oh, Tony will let me ship it tomorrow. I'm going to tell him at 3:30 that his 3:00 truck's not going to be there.
That happens all the time, and it's horrible.
You want to have, so you want to do something that we always talk about, setting yourself apart, from people. You want to do something that'll set you apart. You have that hard conversation, and it'll start off with them kind of being a little bit, offset, but then you can actually change their mind on just how they look at you in general. But just call them up saying, hey, listen, I'd rather start slow. Next week, say, even just an example, next week, I'm looking at this. I really, I look at capacity. I could commit to this, and this is what I want to do. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear, but I know for a fact that one thing that probably drives you nuts is someone telling you that they can do everything that you have, send over anything you got, and then you end up dealing with a lot more on that end. So that's how I see it. I'm trying to, put myself in your shoes, and then also, hold my standards to a higher, site, because it's more of a, an accountability thing for myself. But, I'm also not going to promise you I could do everything.
Yeah.
So when you first tell them that, they're going to be like, kind of like, oh shit, I needed that capacity. But then again, it's just like in sales and anything, when you tell them what their objection would probably be and what they have, one of their pain points is, everybody tells them they can handle it all, and they end up dealing with issues all week.
Absolutely.
So Tony, let me ask you this, man. What one thing, I know like me and you have chatted on the side about this stuff, but you've been in this industry for a while now. What is something that a broker could do to instantly change an opinion on the way that the broker market as a whole operates in?
Like in the initial sales call, or are we already
I would say, you know what, let's not even talk about the initial sales call, because we all know that the initial sales call is all a numbers game. Like, you're eventually going to break through with somebody. Let's say that it's in where you haven't filled out our customer packet yet. You're just on the cusp of me or TJ, for example. What's something that I could do to separate myself at that point? Like we both have given you a pretty compelling pitch per se. What's something that you're going to look for at that stage?
Honestly, man, that's a tough one, because everybody's got a broker. Everybody, even the ones that say they don't have a broker, they've got a broker, but they got a guy that they know and trust. You have to find a way to build a relationship with somebody. And I tell everybody, always go local. Find somebody in your town, in your neighborhood, the next town over, day drive, whatever you got to do. Find somebody that you can be in front of and figure out what it is that you can do for them. And if it's just one load, don't give it this white glove service and set the standard that you can never live up to once you get 10 loads. Mm-hmm. Don't oversell yourself. Just go in and take care of business, get it done. Ask them what level of communication they want. Do you want me to give you an ETA on the truck? I want an ETA. I gave you a load yesterday for today. When's it coming? Tell me what time the guy's going to be here. And then I'll tell you, hey, guy picked up, tarped if it's an outside flatbed, whatever. And then you give me a morning update tomorrow morning, and then you let me know when it's delivered. That's it. That's all I want to know.
I know, and it's fairly simple. Like that's the way I would operate with my customers as well. It's like, I had a 200-mile run that I would do every Tuesday for a customer, for example. It picked up at 10 a.m. every single time. We use the same carrier almost every single time that we booked this load up, but it was always same thing. Hey, at 8 a.m. check in, call the driver. All right, they're on site at their Home Depot delivery in Sparks, Nevada, pickups in Reno, Nevada at 10 a.m. I got it on a texting relationship with the shipper. Hey, driver's getting unloaded right now. Hey, driver's empty. He's going to be there in 35 minutes. Or, hey, driver's empty. He's got to stop, get fuel. The truck stop was right down the street from them. So I'd be like, hey, he's going to the TA there, and he'll fuel up and then he'll be right over. It didn't matter, and just keeping that constant line of communication open and never giving them a reason to not trust me was Absolutely. My biggest thing. Never giving them any reason. Like if it's like this week we couldn't handle it for some reason, letting them know, hey, our guy's not here. I can work it on the spot market if you want, but it might change the rate, So I just feel like I just want to be overly transparent, right. Because
doing that up front is key.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of what I was saying is, in any relationship you've got, somebody may get upset with you, but it's a lot easier for somebody to really just brush it off or get over it when they still trust you. So, if you're just being dead honest with them, they may not want to hear it. And they may be like, but at the same time, they still know, like, okay, well, he's not lying to me. At least that's the biggest thing, when it comes down to it. But you're always bringing kind of a solution. That's one big thing. I don't know. One big thing that I always try to do is always, like, when they say bring an option, spot bids, it's always that. So it's, people are like, I didn't bid that because, I'm not going to pick up Thursday, deliver Monday. All right. Well, there's a lot of people that probably don't want to do that. So let them know, hey, I can pick this up Friday and deliver Monday. Now, I don't know if that works for you, but, if you can't cover it, let me know. We'll make it happen. Whatever it is, if it's a rate, if it's a change in what the shipment's doing, if it's a different type of equipment. But a lot of times, if you get to know the ins and outs of your account, I mean, like you said, you could have that relationship with the shipper, and, you can handle things before they even, before your customer rep even knows, and a lot of their frustration is just because they do have to go handle it. So, you call Cindy over at the shipper and you're like, hey, I'm seeing this load here. I mean, it's only 3 pallets. What is it? Well, it's only 3 pallets. Have you guys ever had a cargo van or a small straight go in there before? Yeah, we've done it. We could probably load that. Boom. Now all of a sudden you're coming back. And I always like to do that sometimes just because you can keep that margin that you had, and you can come back and say, hey, I just talked to Cindy over there. I've got a lot more access to some small straights and sprinters in the area. And she said we could go ahead and load it that way. Matter of fact, just go ahead and knock $500 on what you guys paid us to, and we'll do it that way. And you're still making your margin, and you can even do more because it's so much cheaper to go $1 a mile on a sprinter. But that relationship with the shipper gives you that ability to handle things for them. If you can do their work for them, they tend to really love you.
No, for sure. And I just think that, TJ, that also goes with asking the why, like, why do you do it this way? And I think some people would be pleasantly surprised in the fact that shipping manager came into that role and was told, hey, this load has to ship on Thursday and deliver on Monday. Not one person stopped to even suggest or think, why don't we ship this on Friday? Because the failure rate is so high on a Thursday that we ship it on Friday anyways. I wonder if that would change. They don't do that because we only look at it as, my relationship with Tony is only that one shipment, but Tony has 85 other shipments that move out that week, for example, on top of having to manage his crew to make sure that they're all compliant with safety and OSHA and all that other fun stuff that nobody likes to think about as well. So it's like, don't be afraid to ask those questions. I don't think your relationship can't be that fragile with a customer to where you can't come up and be like, hey, listen, this is the feedback I get. Have you guys ever thought about doing it this way? And then they might be like, well, no, we actually didn't, because the sales rep who brought on our customer 7 years ago and left, I guess they just kind of kept doing it the way that it was always done. So I don't see why not. Tony, what are your thoughts on that? Are you open to people coming with solutions?
Absolutely. I don't have the magic answers. I have usually some kind of, in manufacturing, you're going to have customer service echoing the customer's demands, and we're going to propose it. And either you can hit it or you can't. Don't promise it and then under deliver. We like to under promise and over deliver. I'll get it eventually. But if you got a solution that's not what I suggest, tell me what that solution is. I'll take it back to customer service. Customer service takes it to the customer. That's a workable solution. They can plan around that, but don't set up yourself to fail by overcommitting. Go ahead, propose. Hey, why can't we pick this up on Friday? Oh, we're closed on Friday. All right, that's a big deal. What would it take to get a crew in there to load the truck?
That's the thing. Yeah. Tony, say your shipper, your customer orders this, right? The sales guy, down the chain is the one that, hey, got it set up, got the order set up 3 weeks ago, sent the PO down, the order, shipment, everything to pick up Thursday, deliver Monday. And guess what? It's Labor Day weekend, right? So now it's going to pick up Thursday, deliver Tuesday, and nothing's changed. It's not like they absolutely have to have it that way. It's just that's what it was made of, 3 weeks ago. That's what the load came over as. And that's just what they go in, they see it, boom, broadcast it. All right, bid on it.
A lot of times there are
times I catch that, and I'm like, hey, you guys realize, this is going to cost you a lot more. I could save you money. And the big thing then is when you do that, a lot of times because they're so busy, they know they have to go in and change it now. That a lot of times, because you already said you've got an option and you already told them about it, and they go in and change it, they'll say, okay, cool. All right, you're right. Yeah, I'll go in and change it and just send it over. Just bid it, I'll send it. They don't have time. Now you're way out ahead of any other person bidding on it that didn't ask that question.
There's a lot of reoccurring orders in manufacturing. You'll have every month on the 13th or whatever, you'll have these reoccurring orders, and it happens every week. And I have reports and filters that I use to catch those orders. I have stuff that goes in I have stuff due Monday currently. So I have to, I contact customer service and make sure that they are aware. Hey, you guys realize you have stuff due on Monday? Nobody's open. We're not open. What are you going to do? And you let them know. And it's just a due date thing sometimes. Sometimes the customer says, no, we're here, we need it. We're not really going to be there. We're not really delivering. But some of those reoccurring orders will land on holidays. They'll land on weekends. Sometimes somebody just fat fingered a number when they typed it in the due date. Sometimes, you just, if you don't catch it and I don't catch it, I'm not sitting there staring at a calendar all day.
Yeah.
If you catch it and you tell me, dude, you're helping me, you just saved a huge headache down the road. Huge.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
You got to know the time, right? So a lot of times, usually you've got more flex on, on the pickup, right? So you could be like, hey, I can pick this up tomorrow, but I could still hit OTD, when customer needs it. But now, like in today's market, a lot of times now you've got less flex on the pickup, right? Because they've got the production is so high right now and they're staging. I had a customer the other day that literally had us, they kept asking for another trailer. I said, hey, we've already got trailers in there for what we've committed to. And they're like, hey, we've got a load on the dock right now that they staged, and we've got 2 trucks waiting, and we don't have any, like, we don't know what to do. We can't we can't load the other trucks. So I called, I know, they're in South Bend, so they're down the road, and I know a cross dock down there. So I called, I said, hey, if I'll run a trailer over there from Fort Wayne, if we load it and I just let you know what it is, we'll cross dock it onto whoever you have coming in next, the carrier you have coming in next. Literally coordinated it. So I had a guy go in, load it on our trailer. We just took it down the road to the cross dock. They gave us the carrier's name and number so that they could coordinate with them, and they just loaded them from that facility, and we just set them in the invoice, and they were like so excited about it. But right now there's such a push on volume. You've got less flex. So knowing that when to ask and what to ask, like, don't go ask a shipper right now if you could change the pickup, because they're going to be less likely to accommodate that.
Our floor is full. Trust me.
Yep. Yeah. It's a real thing, but, no, I think, you look at that. Opportunity wise too. I was looking back through some posts back during the COVID time when I first kind of even started doing the LinkedIn thing. And, I put one out there, and sometimes it makes you feel good when you throw a lot of things at the wall, and some of it sticks and some of it doesn't. You don't talk about the stuff that doesn't, but, I had made a post talking about how, it was getting towards the end of like the shutdown. And I said, if you want to go land a customer, work on some drop trailer strategies. Cause I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of their customers that aren't open and they're still producing, right? They're still producing. They got inventory. A lot of them don't have the warehouse space, and it's going to be a big thing. And I'm telling you right now, I could pick up the phone and call, just go through a list of leads, and every one of them, if I told them I had drop trailers, but as an asset carrier, you've only got so much, capacity. So you can't do that. But, it hit my mind, and I'm like, I should put another post out tonight on it. This was like last week. And the old Brandon Bay called me on my way home. We were talking freight, and he goes, hey man, can I rent some of your trailers? I said, well, absolutely not. And he kind of laughed. I said, I need every one of them. I said, but we rent extra lease. And he goes, well, I go, why? He's like, well, this shipper I've got, he's got this many loads, and he wants, and so there's Brandon thinking that way, right? Trying to come up with a solution for his customer, because he knows they're hurting. He knows they got to get stuff out. And I gave him the number to our extra lease guy. And I didn't follow up to see if he did or not, but that he was sitting there thinking of how he could help his customer out, get these loads off the dock, and then schedule appointments or whatever it is with their production. But it was just a weird thing, because I was already thinking it, and then he called and asked if he could rent my trailers. And I said, well, that's not really how it works. You don't want to rent somebody that trailers that somebody owns. Just go through extra lease. It's a lot easier. But I don't know. I thought that's a thing that you can bring to the table, when it comes to opportunities.
That's just thinking outside of the box, though. Like it's not always Indianapolis to Nashville, 20,000 pounds, dock to dock. Like, come on, think outside of the box. Like, find short-term warehousing for your customer, organize the shuttle runs from their warehouse to the short-term warehouse, and then let them know that, hey, we're going to live load those out of that facility in a month whenever your customer's ready for it. Take care of that. That's your job as a broker. Like, you're a third party. It's not just be here when it's easy and accept our freight when it's easy. Anybody can do that. If you want to truly add value to your customers, you have to come with unique proposals to fix their problems. And guess what? You do that, all of a sudden, price starts to kind of go out. Like, it's always going to be a thing, but price starts to go out the door. Like, yeah, they're a little bit more expensive, but they do so much more for us than everybody else. So they're worth the extra $100 or $200 a shipment. It's all relative.
Justify
and they'll
that.
tell you.
Yeah.
I've had customers tell me, they're like, hey, TJ, I'm sending this over to you. And it's like they want to tell you, just, I don't know, because they want to, but they're like, hey, I got somebody that's $200 cheaper, but you did say you can make OTD on this, right? Yep. And they'll tell you that straight up. But what that does is it doesn't just bring a solution, but it validates, right? It shows them that you're knowledgeable. I have dealt with a lot of, especially if you've got some through the big 3PLs or they've got some sort of, structure in which you're dealing with a load planner, not maybe the shipper. A lot of times you'll get people that are just right out of college that are just managing the shipments. And as soon as you prove that you know what you're doing and you have the knowledge, they will lean on you so much. And I mean, you could teach them, I've told people, and for me, it was kind of weird. It was like, how did they not know that? Because when you first start, you have this, and Rhonda asked in the comments here, she asked about why do you think more folks don't spend time on relationship building and communicating on what actually is happening? Because I think when you first start, you've got this idea that they're sitting on a throne, they are just literally normal people. If you could cover their shipments on Friday at the end of the day for them so they can go home and watch Netflix, or they can go meet their wife for dinner at Hacienda in Elkhart and get a wet, dry burrito, they are ecstatic. They're normal people, making normal salary. They're handling millions of dollars worth of freight, but you just got to think that way, and they'll relate with you and they'll lean on you. And then when it comes down to it, busy times of the year, first thing you think, I don't even know really what to do on these. I don't want to go source them. Here, TJ, take these.
I mean, I've never hauled any freight for Tony in my career, but if I would have met Tony as a broker early on in my career, I would have never thought that he drank beer after hours and was a normal human being. Because you're right. You put them on a pedestal, you make them up and then all of a sudden you start coming up with all these scenarios on why they're better than you as a person and everything else. And you're like, that's not the case at all. And it's one of those things, like, people are always going to buy from people. It wouldn't matter who I worked for, what company, whatever. If I have a relationship with Tony, he's going to give me freight no matter where I go.
Mm-hmm. And if you could put, and that's another, it goes on the other end too, though, putting some pushback and vetting customers,
Yes.
There's certain customers that just are not going to work with you, and they're just not, they don't care, vet them out, but also get some pushback. Somebody, they'll be a little they do have a little bit of a power trip a lot of times, not all of them, but there's some, but give a little pushback on what's going on. Don't be afraid. People just take it, because they think they're going to lose a customer. They're going to shut you off. Today I had the same example today, and people are like, oh, TJ, that email, you kind of got on them. The customer had emailed in and was a little bit condescending to some of my crew. And I just came back with a logical response, but also saying, hey, I want to be crystal clear here, and put a little pushback. Sure enough, she calls me. She goes, hey, I just wanted to give you a call. I hope, I was just kind of in a hurry there, and let me walk you through it. And next thing you know, they're off that pedestal. They're real they're people.
I had to check in my shirt. There's no S in there. I don't have that on my chest.
You're Superman. You're Superman in my heart.
You're still top 5, Tony.
You're the coach, man. Exactly. Top 5 in Northern Indiana.
I like top 5 because you could be, you could be 1, you could be 5. We're going to tell you, but
I'm the 6th guy in a 5-man outfit.
Yeah. 6th man of the year in the RV industry.
So here's my thing. There's a lot of guys that the only thing they have is that leverage. I've got the loads. You want the loads. You've got the carriers. You've got the brokerage, whatever. You want the loads. I've got the loads. So everybody goes in there thinking they're top dog, right?
Yeah.
When they're young and new. Mm-hmm. And then when you spend a few years in there and we're in a market like right now who's got the leverage? Who's got the leverage? It ain't me.
I don't even know who does anymore.
If you got a truck, you're doing all right.
Yeah, exactly.
You're picking your lanes. You're picking your rates.
And you look at it, it doesn't have to be one. It doesn't have to be a shipper, a broker, or a carrier. It could be warehousing.
Right. Absolutely.
The warehousing may have the leverage,
Intermodal. They do right now.
It could be all different types of, depending on what, the market could be up just because the economy's up. The market could be up because production's up. Yeah. The market could be down because of COVID, or the market could be down because of the economy. It could be, down because of all different types of things. But, it ebbs and flows, and you gotta, like you said, the more experience you have, the more ability you have to pivot. That's why when we talked earlier during the COVID thing about everybody, complaining about rates, I feel sorry for anybody. We're all going through the same thing, and don't regulate the market. Let's regulate the market so that all the time I spend, trying to get out ahead and set ourselves up for success, to be proactive and be able to, facilitate, all of my operations during those times, that goes to nothing because it doesn't matter. You're just going to pull that guy up there that, look now, used truck sales are up. How much? I said it back when we were talking, in 2018, you could go on DAT and make a ton of money, right? Well, as soon as the market goes down, you have no clue. You didn't save any money. You don't know how to run a business, right? But you're going to be okay because the market's regulated. That's the beauty of America. It's not just the ball legal. There's more than that. You know what I'm talking about, Tony.
Absolutely. And if you've been around more than a few months, more than 6, 8, 10 months, you're going to understand that just comes back around. Like right now, the carriers have the leverage. Back then, I didn't feel bad for them either. I made the post earlier this week on LinkedIn talking about that. There's nobody crying at in Capitol Hill. There's no truck horns in the White House lawn. It's supply, it's demand. Who's got which? And if you study economics at all, which is I'm a super nerd, so I read blogs about economics in my spare time. It's fun to watch because in the trucking market, the supply and demand is one thing, but you can actually watch the supply and demand move. When there's a tornado outbreak in Oklahoma, every flatbed in the country is headed to the central US. And you're not going to get somebody that's going to want to go to Minneapolis, period. It's a black hole. Nothing comes out of there. So I don't feel bad, when they were honking their horns and interrupting the press conference, whatever.
Well, yeah. What was
it comes right back around.
Of course. What was the rate per mile that they wanted? A minimum $2 a mile? Is that what it was? Is that what they were saying?
I think that's what I was hearing a lot of.
Yeah, I was hearing that too. So
why are you at?
Yeah, exactly. Why are you commanding $5 a mile right now?
I put a controversial kind of a comment on somebody's post. They talked about, now that people are back making this and that, and a broker put out there that, man, what the heck, everybody was complaining, and now this guy's asking for $8 a mile. And a bunch of carriers jump in, like, oh, well, because we weren't making anything back then. And I said, how many of you guys are taking $6 a mile of that and putting it back in savings for the next time you're getting offered 89 cents a mile? Anybody? Nope. I'm telling you, I've dealt with drivers a long time. When the market's up and they're making money, next thing you know, they got to get home because they got a new Jeep. They got to put the Jeep.
Pardon my lack of compassion, but that's why I don't feel bad.
Mm-hmm. It's the same.
It comes right back around, and they get it back. They get it back times 3 when the market swings back the other way.
Yep.
Because my customer still needs their stuff.
No, exactly. I mean, like the funny thing is like, and I've said this, and I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. Like, my dad drove, and he started driving in the 70s, and guess what? Same conversations were had back then that we're having right now. Brokers make too much money. Drivers make too much money. Shippers control everything. Nothing's changed. Like, there's been zero progress on that front, So it's like, one thing I can say though, is not every broker plays the spot market game. Not every carrier plays the spot market game. There's plenty of carriers out there who don't post their trucks. They have their own relationships with brokers and customers. They keep their customer pricing to $2, $2.10 a mile, whatever you want to call it. And they're content with that because they don't want to play the volatility. They know what their overhead is. They know they want consistent margin 12 months out of the year, not for 12 seconds, which is all this is going to equate to in the grand scheme of things.
Because you can budget.
Yeah.
You can budget, right? Look at Kip. What Kip was on last week. He talked about a guy that, they had a carrier out of Defiance, Ohio, they used for a ton of stuff to the point where he asked to put their, logo on the side of his trailer. They were dedicated to that. He could budget around it. You're right. Once you get on that and you make that relationship, and then you could say, okay, I know for a fact I can only have this many trailers, this many drivers. I'm probably going to pay my drivers hourly or salary or whatever, because I got to do this. This is my budget. Here it is. That's it. I mean, there's all different types of carriers. The ones that were complaining were the ones who were out running the DAT loads from brokers. That's why I said, you don't like it, go land your own freight. And if you can't land your own freight, then be quiet, because all you're going to do is depend on brokers for however long it takes until you can land your own freight. The amount of time you take to go on and complain online could have been spent calling a local shipper to get in and get a relationship with them.
Yeah. But the thing is though, TJ, is to me, 1 or 2 trucks doesn't solve a volume issue for a shipper, that has 20 loads a day that they're shipping out.
But you're not calling those. Everybody thinks a direct shipper's that. I said, you get a local shipper. What do they have? What Kip said, the guys, they're shuttling stuff across, right? They want to run. What do you have? You guys are running a lot of intermodal. We can have a guy be over there to wait if it can't go on the train. They're all different types of ways to work with shippers, especially ones that maybe even be like might be different. They just the way they ship. You ship something that's high value that's got to go 250 miles before stopping. Passes down. You got somebody that, hey, maybe go look at what type of trailer you got. Maybe there's a shipper that requires smooth walls because they're going to cube out the trailer and there's not many people that have them. Maybe they need vertical E-tracks. Maybe they need.
Yeah.
Look at that. What can get you in?
I would love. Yeah, I would love if I had a 2-truck operation and say I was in, in the Indianapolis market. I'm looking to have 4 dry van trailers, and I'm looking for local shuttle runs every day, making 300 to 350 a pop. And you can do 2 of those in a day. And, you got 20, 30 miles and you just drop and hook at both. Like there is that freight out there. And that's what I'm going to do, and hell, you might even be able to get $400 direct to a shipper, and it's still $100 cheaper than what they could get on the open market. So it's
What's that do for you? What's that do for you? It gives you clout. It gives you a reputation, because you started local. Now you can go over, you can bring him donuts in the morning. You can take the guy out for dinner. You can do all that stuff and start to build a reputation. And then that shipper knows somebody and says, hey, how do we get this guy, a little bit more business, more freight, whatever it is. Let's come up with something. We've got these drop deck auto vans we ran on a project for automotive, and we brought some of them off of it, but we've got a shipper down the road that is now going to start to supply Ford, I believe, or whatever it is. And they need to go. They're building a dock to be able to have these, and they wanted to know if they could borrow one. Hell yeah, the guy running over there. They asked what we charge. I said nothing. Just don't forget about us when you guys have the freight coming out. They're using our trailer over there just to measure the dock to be able to build it, to be able to run the drop deck vans. I mean, took me 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Hey, you guys, if you're helping a shipper, they're just regular guys, but they, I tell you, I've been in this, I don't know, basically my whole life, but I don't have the answers. And if you come in and tell me a fresh set of eyes, something that I didn't realize, some solution that I hadn't thought of, something that's out of the box, something just different.
Yeah.
That might be the right answer. Provide value. Give me that something that I didn't think of. I mean, we don't have all the right. Maybe it doesn't need to be a Thursday load. Maybe it's, hey, what are you doing Saturday? I got an option for Saturday. Save you $500. Oh,
yeah. Shoot, I put that in a post, and I'm sorry, this is just a big top for me. I love this, but because think about a company that has been doing the same thing for so long, right? They still got all those old ways of doing things, right? So when you come in and you're supply chain director, shipping manager, you're kind of hamstrung a little bit, right? This is how we've always done it. This is how we're going to do it. And then you want to go to them and you want to say, I hear them all, they have no idea what they're doing. I don't know why they would ever make this decision, this and that. Well, you could come with a solution. Are they going to listen to you? I don't know. But you could be their biggest ally if you go with them with a solution. They've got you. And now they can go to the board, go to their leader and say, hey, I've got a carrier, a broker that has this many trucks that does this, that literally laid out exactly that can do it for us. Right there. You're bringing them a problem with already have a solution. You literally already have a carrier source, and the dude came up with it.
Yes.
Yep. Huge. Absolutely. You're solving somebody else's problem they didn't know they had.
Yep.
And you're making them look good to their boss. I mean, it's a win all the way around. It is.
You'd think it would be, right? Yeah, man.
So you look at that, current market wise right now, but let's touch on some Jolly. What would you throw out to the gang going into a holiday weekend, whether it's Labor Day, whether it's any other holiday weekend? It's always a big topic, and it somehow DOT week still catches people by surprise.
Yeah.
Somehow holiday weekends still do. They like you got smacked in the face last holiday weekend, and now you're doing.
It's because people just have such a short-term memory. Like they forget, like my biggest thing around a holiday weekend, and that's what I put out there last week. Because if you're just coming to the party tomorrow, bringing up this stuff, you lost. Like, I'm sorry, you might as well not even show up to work tomorrow.
Every load we have is already covered tomorrow.
Yeah,
you have to be.
Yeah, you have to be ahead of it. And it's like this is going to be late to anybody who's watching this right now. If I'm on a holiday weekend, if I'm Thursday night before a holiday weekend and I have open freight tomorrow, you better be prepared to overpay. And just book the first truck that says, I'll take it and move on. Don't hold out for anything tomorrow because you're not going to win. Like if you haven't covered that up today, you lost. Like take your licking and move on. Unless you get that one truck, that random unicorn who just had their load canceled and just happened to want to go back to Fort Wayne, Indiana for the weekend for their holiday, otherwise you should have been booked up already.
Because I'm telling you, when there's a holiday weekend and if drivers are going home, they've got plans. They've already got plans, and they will get antsy as hell if you don't have them a load yet. by Thursday, because I'm telling you, their wife, whoever it is in their ear saying, you better be home. Did they get you something yet? And all they want to do is just get that done. But I told you guys before, when we were just talking before, I had, $5,500 to go from Ohio to Washington, and it's Thursday. I'm telling you this, it picks up tomorrow. And you guys are like, oh yeah, shoot, you probably didn't cover it. I'm like, yep, covered it for 56 or 57, 58.
Yeah.
It's a $200, $300 loss. The day before it even picks up. Some people be like, I'd have to get that the day before. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
And 65.
Too late tomorrow.
Exactly. Yep. You're paying maybe $7,000 if you're lucky, at that point. And yeah, I mean, shoot, I remember it's funny what you said, like the wife's in the ear and everything. I had a driver once who, I won't say the lane or the mileage, but this was pre-E-log, and it was his wife's birthday that weekend. And I was like, man, like this is cutting it tight. And he's like, well, put it this way, son, I better be in jail if I'm not there. So I'll be in one spot or the other.
Yep. Absolutely. Nope. I've had drivers, I'd be like, listen, man, if you're really like got to get home, I'm telling you right now that, you kind of let me know a little late or whatever it is. And he's like, my wife's going to kill me, man. I'm like, listen, I'll give you $150 deadhead home or whatever. He's like, okay, will you like go in the system and like build up a load, and with like some money on it and send it to me. And then you just cancel it in your system. That way I can show my wife the rate con and she thinks I got a load coming back home. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And somebody's like, did you get this load for this guy? I said, no, he just wants to show his wife the rate con so she knows he's coming home.
Every guy out there is like, I get it. Like no questions asked. Like, yep, of course.
Yeah, it's funny because he's like, I don't want her to know that I waited too long to tell you, I got your back, man. I got your back.
Yeah, don't even worry about it.
That's a relationship builder.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's, think about it as a broker though. That's what knowing your carrier is. Knowing your carrier down to where you almost know your drivers. You know where they live. You could start to bid to that. You could call Johnny and be like, hey, you going home next weekend? Just like what I would do in dispatch. Hey, Johnny, you run these for me all the time. You going home next weekend? Yeah, cool. I'm going to look for something to get you back. That's his dispatcher's job, but you can do it as a broker if you want.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know where they're going, where they live, where their hub is.
Then you know what that does? That makes Johnny like you.
Yeah.
Johnny wants to be your friend.
Exactly. And then Johnny doesn't mind going on tracking and sending you all those updates that you need. And he calls you instead of you having to call them. Yep. And yeah, I mean, it's really not a hard concept. Like I struggled with it. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't make all those mistakes because I did. I made every broker mistake out there that everybody complains. Everything that you mentioned, Tony, I've done. I'm not going to sit here and put myself on a pedestal and say it. Yeah.
But I'm
not going to sit here and put, I was like, but that's, you're right, TJ. That's how I learned. I learned how to not do this job. And there is no easy route. All right. Like building relationships, whether it's with a carrier or a customer, is not easy. It takes time. And it's not a relationship if you always have this aching suspicion that you're winning. Like as a broker, if you always think you're winning, it's not a relationship and it's going to go away at some point. So,
and I think, the big part there is, I think the biggest thing for leadership for me is this. I had a hard path, man. I mean, I'm absolutely blessed the timing that I came into the company I came into. I mean, there's no way around it, but it was not easy. I don't even know why I stuck with it, to be honest with you, sometimes. But
I can see your hairline agrees with that too.
Yeah, exactly. I still got, that's what I tell people all the time. I got freight bod. I got the hairline. All I got is my blue eyes left. So that's why, so we always wear blue shirts. I'm trying to accentuate the only thing I got. But no, I mean, it is. And you look at it, it's like, man, it's a struggle, right? You never see how green the grass could be on the other end. Yeah. But as a leader, then how do I still, I feel like that's what made me good though. So how do I get these guys to have, I don't want them to go through all those experiences. My job's for them not to, because when we grew up, when I grew up in the industry, we didn't really have leaders. It was all of us just booking freight. So how do I get them involved and learn that way without actually having them actually just get hammered? Sometimes the situation and if it's going to be real good or bad, you can kind of let them go through it. But I mean, it's a give and take. You just examples, sharing content, sharing, ideas, make it sound bad to where like they don't even want to try it. I don't know. I think that's the biggest thing is sharing how to have somebody follow the same path as you, but have it a little bit easier, at least,
My take on leadership, good leadership, applies to brokering freight carrier, whatever. Set clear expectations and give people a way to measure themselves to those expectations, and they'll overachieve every time.
Clear and attainable expectations.
Right.
Not, hey, yeah, this is very clear message, but it's really freaking hard to get there. You know, you don't.
That's an understood.
Yeah.
And be logical. My biggest thing was this: 100 calls a day on sales team, on carrier sales, whatever. That's fine. That makes sense. If you're first starting, you're going to get experience. As your experience goes up, the quality of your calls are greater. It should go down.
Yes.
Matter of fact, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, a lot of your loads you should book through email. So you can tier things, right? You can tier things. You got carrier sales reps, you know, that are tenured, have put loyalty. You got to give credit to loyalty. So if you've got carrier sales reps that have been around a long time, let them push out and go cover the loads down, you know, 3 days, 4 days out. And if there's red loads day of, have the new people work them. But, you know, have an idea, show them where they can get to. Say, hey, after this many months, you can get to this. If they just come in, they think, oh, I'm working these. It's just natural. You're gonna say, oh, I got to work the day of, you know, red loads that I'm not gonna make much on. They're out getting all the big rips on the ones next week. Let them know it in their head. They know that, hey, all I got to do is I just got to do this for 3 months. Once I do this for 3 months, I can get to this level. I can get to this tier. You know,
See, I don't. When you say red, what do you red label loads?
It's just in our TMS, right? If it goes,
is that like last minute?
If it goes within like 4 or 5 hours of pickup, they go red.
Okay.
And a lot of times it has to do with like fall offs or customer things that happen or something.
So how do you guys work that then? Are you guys pushing guys to pre-book 24 to 48 hours in advance? Are you pushing that?
Yeah. I mean, that's our goal, right? But
yeah.
But the thing is we've got such a different, and this is when I was on the broker side. When we first did went from cradle to grave, I structured our carrier sales team first, and then I moved on to the account managers just because they were a little bit more experienced. But
yeah,
when I structured it, it was based around the fact that we've got contracted freight, but we have a lot of spot bid freight. You know, I don't want our account managers not taking freight. So if they got to take them day of, let's do it, right? Let's do it. But, you know, be smart, know where we're at, where our capacity is, even with our carrier sales team. If they're bogged down, cover it yourself, you know, or something. But so you're going to run into those day of loads, but there's contracted freight out there that there are some big rips. And, you know, what would make people mad is, hey, there's 2 red loads on the board. And that's when, you know, maybe everybody drops everything to get them covered, get them off the board. And so we can move on. But, you know, there's nothing worse than getting an email from one of the carrier sales reps saying, hey, we're all really working on this and grinding on it. And I just noticed this person over here just covered 2 loads for next week for 500. And like, that's not fair, you know, and then you start dealing with that. So if you could tier it and put it tiered out, like you said, you know, 100 calls should be the start to get experience, and you move your way down, whatever. You got to adjust with what you've got going company wise and what you got people wise too.
No, I feel you. That was my whole thing is I always wanted freight pre-booked with regulars 48 hours in advance. And you're starting to, I guess if it was a newer lane for a customer, for example, like I was always like later on in my career, I always wanted the niche, you know, I wanted the niche region. I wanted I wanted easy. I'll be honest. I wanted easy freight. I wanted that, you know, like you can find over dimensional and open deck freight that's quote unquote easy, you know, because it's not changing every single week. I just wanted the consistency. I wanted what the carriers wanted. I wanted consistent freight to where I could build out a carrier network that everybody was happy, that I could send out 5 text messages, cover 12 shipments for all in the next 48 hours. And then I just kind of sit back and I'm able to service my customers at a higher level because I'm able to take on new projects for them. I'm able to maybe talk to them about different modes of transportation and what else is going on in the market and actually build a relationship with them. And because like, I mean, you can't play the spot market every single day. I think people realize that now, but you can't do that. You're up against a wall every single day. If you expect growth as an organization and your model is post day of, I mean, if it's working for you, great, congratulations. I'm not going to put myself through that.
There should be an end game to it. It's all about recognition. If I'm seeing a lot more loads on spot bid from a customer, there's a reason. That customer does not want to do spot bids. Am I right, Tony?
Absolutely.
Okay, so unless it's something where their customer is sending day of, which a lot of times you got to know, right?
Yeah.
But if you see lanes that you know and you see them and volumes up, if you see these come out on spot bid, there is a reason. Call
Somebody
them,
couldn't cover
ask them what the reason is. Did the carrier fall off? Is he not being able to supply this? I'm telling you right now, I'm spot bidding him at this rate. I'm willing to go $300 less if I can get guaranteed 5 a week. Start talking to them. There's a reason they're on spot bid. Your goal when you're spot bidding is always to get off of spot bids, right? The shipper's goal when they're spot bidding is always to get off spot bids.
Yes.
Right? You have the same goal.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Ask the why. Hey, why are we here? What happened? Is this something consistent? Is this regular? Like, is somebody else dropping the ball? Mm-hmm. How can I, can I have an opportunity to position myself? Like, yeah, I can't cover this one today if you can't do it, but how often is this freight available? Are you looking, can I have an opportunity?
As a shipper, we love contracted rates. We love the contracted rates because we have a budget. There's always a budget, and you get into a publicly traded company situation and you have to report this budget. You have to project, you have to forecast, you have to do all this stuff. We hate the spot market. You can't predict it. You can't budget it. You can't plan for it. No one could plan for rates being what they are now from 2 months ago.
There's not just a budget, but you got to justify your budget too, right, Tony?
Right.
So if you're going to keep spot bidding, they're going to come to you and say, okay, well, I understand they're going to spot bid and you're over budget, but have you worked to find another carrier to get on it?
Yeah.
They're going to pressure them to do it.
Yeah, this goes down to working in a certain region to start out, man. You can have contracted rates with shippers without having an actual contract. Mm-hmm. You just know the seasonality of the market better than they do. So you tell them, hey, instead of a $700 market swing in peak season, I'm going to keep it to $350 for you because I work with the same carriers. I pay them a little bit more, and then I'm going to charge you less. How does that sound? That sounds like a great plan, because not everybody has the time to go through every single shipment that they have, play the spot market, try and find that. Just come to them with a solution to make their lives easier. Like, come on.
Yep. My favorite story about that and with the budget is I'll protect no names to protect the innocent and the guilty, but I knew a guy.
Chris Jolly.
I knew a guy who had a budget for a shipment, and I knew the shipping manager, and it was pretty stinking regular every month. So he tells me. And one day the boss comes to him and says, hey, why did our budget go up by X dollars last month? Suddenly it's a staggering amount that everybody, what in the world, huge red flag. It was out of line. You had an outlier load. You look back and like, I don't understand. Nothing happened. The shipping guy says, it was all same old. Then we got to looking, you asked the questions, you figured out, it could have something to do with chartering that jet. Remember that hot load? Oh yeah, there went the budget.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. And then somebody has to answer for that. And it's always a month later after it's over and done with, everybody forgot everything. It's gone, it's history. And now you have to answer.
One thing I've always done is knowing that I know that the shipper, for me to get maybe some higher contracted rates, they're gonna have to justify it. Right. One thing I've always done, and I'm not sure why I started doing it, but it worked and it worked since, but I give them data. I send my shipper contact, I send them our on-time percentage. I send them how many loads we've ran. I send them how many times we've given a load back, which for us is always 0, but I've sent them all this stuff. That way, in their mind, they're justifying it. And at the end of the day, they don't got to go back and find any data. They may not have access to that data. But when they got to go justify their budget, they could say, hey, TJ sent this over. I mean, look, these guys are at 98% on time percentage, and a lot of they've coordinated this. You give them something, give them some data, give them something you've done. That way they can justify it to themselves and to their leadership. Yep,
because I guarantee you, as a shipper, the only time they ever come to you is, hey, why are we spending X number of dollars with these guys? Mm-hmm. This seems like more.
Yeah,
and it's more than we ship with these guys. Why these guys all of a sudden? How did they come in and you're spending this much money with them? Mm-hmm. Give me an answer. Give me, because I like their guy. That's not an answer. You can't give that answer.
You know what else it does? It also gives you a little less competition, because think about it. Shippers are people. They're just like us. They don't want to have those hard conversations either. They've been using you. You've been making their life easy. And now their boss is all over them because you're spending too much. What do? They go set up 3 more carriers, right? They're going to tell you. They're going to set up 3 more carriers. They're going to add them to their spot bid list. They're going to maybe bring in a broker, add to their spot bid list. Now you got more competition because you didn't provide them with some sort of justification, hard copy, whatever it is, some numbers, something that they could justify it with. Instead, their solution was go get more carriers.
Right. Give them a reason to use you.
Yeah.
Give them every reason to use you.
Chris nails it. It's all of this. We could come up with all these. Chris nailed it. It's ask why. Then you know what direction to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that and earn their freight. Treat every shipment like it's your first shipment.
Every shipment's your last shipment.
Yeah, or last shipment. Whatever you want to, however you want to spin it. It's you need to take extra caution and precaution with this stuff. You can never take customers' freight for granted, because I know a lot of people in this industry think it's as easy as just making a couple of phone calls and all of a sudden you just get all this freight, all this money. You're driving a Ferrari and you have a beach house. Far from it. It's like calling customers is the easy part. The real work starts when you start moving freight for them, and that's when you really learn all the ins and outs and the nuances that you don't think of in the prospecting process of it. And then once you find out what a customer's requirements are, double down and triple down and quadruple down on what they're asking you to do, and don't deviate away from it. That's customer service right there. It doesn't matter what you think as a broker. Unless you're coming to them with like a solution to like, hey, why don't we try it this way? Have you guys ever thought about that style thing? But if a customer requires A, B, C, and D on every single shipment, don't try and deviate away from that. Just double down on it.
And that's how you build that relationship, because people move jobs. You're not always going to be the same brokerage. The shipper's not always going to be the same shipper, but you've got that relationship with that guy, that gal, that whoever. And when they go on to their next role, you go with them. You just open a new market.
And you can have that protection. I mean, I still remember what really kind of what really honestly made me good at sales was, I remember in 2018, it was when I really first had my big year. I mean, income wise, I'd never, I'm from Auburn, Indiana. I mean, it's just a different, I never thought I'd see what I saw, and, going into 2019, somebody had come over and made the comment that, I know it's great, isn't it? Yeah. Isn't it weird though, that like, you're just like one, really crazy shipment away from getting shut off and all that goes away. You start thinking about, you start thinking about like your budget and everything. You're like, holy shit. So, I hit the grind, man. I'm like, I'm going to land like X amount. And then, you also look at, you started to realize it's what made me better was I started learning that, whatever relationships you thought you had in 2019, they just got out of a board meeting to do the year recap of 2018, and they're to restructure it everything. And they're driving every rate down they can, and they're adding 75 new carriers to the RFP, and they're doing this and that. And you're like, man, this is just the industry. I have got to protect myself. Like if I can't get, they always say don't get used to a certain income, but if I want that, I gotta have options. And it just changes your mindset. You realize it too. No matter how much your relationships, no matter what relationships you've built and how hard you go at them, they're going to have somebody in their ear. Right. And you maybe be best friends with them, but if somebody in their ear says, cut TJ, it's just what it is.
That's going to be me. I'm that broker calling, building that relationship on the side, just waiting for TJ to drop the ball. So
Jolly's on everybody's heels. He sends me a list every day of every customer he reaches out to. And all he does is go on DAT and find them from the brokers that are posting them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he told me.
It's not that hard. I'm not even a broker anymore, and I'm still getting freight. What's up, guys?
Getting offers to come in.
I know. I'm getting offers from customers who have literally hit me up on LinkedIn. Hey, are you still brokering freight? I'd love to give you my business. And I'm like, who would have thought? Who would have thought?
You're on Google. You're Googling carriers in the area, covering the shipment.
I need a 15% kickback here. Cash only, guys.
Yeah. I've got a template for my rate cons. It's on Google Sheets that I'll send it over. Or you could be like you could be a dispatcher or whatever a dispatcher where they don't have to have like
digital dispatch.
Yeah, they don't have to have anything.
Yeah, no thanks. I'll pass. Hard pass on that one.
So, I mean,
what's your
at the end of the day, right now, you talked about who holds the cards, who doesn't, but it's always going to change. So just keep yourself in a good position to where you could go from being maybe aggressive to being less aggressive, to maybe being empathetic, to being less empathetic, to being this or that. Just be able to pivot. You have to. There's no way around it. We touched on, going into a holiday weekend. don't wait till Friday to cover your stuff. Don't even wait till Thursday, honestly. And if you do cover something, don't forget about it. Follow up with the carrier. If you cover it on Monday for a load, pick it up Friday. Don't just assume it's going to stay covered.
Yeah.
Guess what? Next week is going to be crazy busy too because it's a short week. I just booked a load today for Thursday of next week because all of those trucks are going to be busy.
Because you're pulling drivers out of a certain market to their house.
Yeah.
Hey, go Google where most drivers live. I don't know. Can you find that data? Oh, Kyle Taylor, help us out. FreightWaves.
Yeah.
Can you figure out where most drivers live? I don't know. Figure something. It's going to be a struggle, but don't forget about it. You covered on Monday that it picks up Friday. Great for you. Good job. That's what you need to do. But don't not contact him on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
TJ, I think that falls into the how far out is too far out Monday for Friday, especially on a holiday week. Mm-hmm. Way too far out.
Trust them. But hey, if you call them Tuesday and they know you're calling them twice a day, every day to make sure they're still good for it, maybe they'll actually come out and be like, hey, I'm not. Because listen, I work on the asset side and I know there are dispatch. I know what dispatchers do. They get on the board and they're like, holy shit, look at the rates. And
why am I going to take this $3 mile rate when somebody's posting for $4.50? F this guy.
Hey, I'll just call him now and I'll tell him that.
Is that truck breaking down? I smell smoke.
Yeah, my turbo went out.
I'll just tell him you had an air leak. It's all good.
My teenage kid has an air leak every time I tell him something.
Nice.
Also, one big tip I think I've talked about the on Chris's post the other day. Fuel advance scams are big right now.
Yes.
They know you need a truck. They know that you'll do whatever it takes to get a truck. They won't accept tracking, and they'll say they're on site. You'll send them the FS, and you'll never hear from them. So watch for that. But also, what I would do if I were you is I would have an idea of whether or not I ask some questions. Are they going home? Is he going through the house? Where is his house? I understand if he goes home, he may not want to be on tracking the whole weekend, but can I get updates from him? How do I get? Where are you storing the freight over a 4-day weekend?
I think
the 500-mile load. Where are you storing the freight?
Let's touch on that fuel advance thing here pretty quick, because I think now I want to ask Tony this. So Tony, if I came to you and, we have a relationship and I'm just being real with you. And I said, hey man, this is something that kind of creeps up when rates are out of whack like this holiday weekend. Can you verify to me when my driver's loaded? Would you do that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, that's one of those things right there. So like, there's your I guess your qualifier that, hey, all right, we're good to go. The guy called
that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, have those conversations with your customers. It's not like the carrier is shady or anything like that, but hey, we need to take these extra precautions right now, because if we're losing $500 a pop here, then, it just, that adds up quick. And, it's good for brokers and carriers alike to hear that from a shipper that, hey, if you have those conversations, you're going to work together in that situation.
Yeah. Not only that, but you got a couple of other issues. That's a great point. You got a couple things. If you've got an idea and you're thinking there's a possibility they're putting your stuff on rail, call your shipper. Say, hey, listen, I caught a carrier doing that on 3 different loads, and they went through this whole entire spiel. I could tell they had a whole thing laid out, but what they didn't realize is that I was in good with the shipper, the lady at the shipping dock. She told me exactly who the carrier was that came in and picked it up, and she got me with the receiver and exactly who it was that delivered it. That way I could tell it was obviously 2 separate carriers that weren't even the carrier I gave it to.
Yeah. And
I was able to piece that together. But so you've got that, you've got the fuel advance thing, but you've also got one big thing too, is if you've got a driver and you're trying to service the customer and they're saying that they got to be there by 2 p.m. hard cutoff. They gave you an ETA, they're not tracking where they should. You call the dispatcher. Oh, no, he'll be there at 1:59. Okay. Well, I got to cut you. I got to cut you off this, man. You got to understand. I got to have a closer truck. When you put that new truck on there, call that shipper and tell them that if that carrier shows up, do not load them.
Yeah.
And let them know it's not because they're not a good carrier. It's just because they were farther out than what I thought, and they may just keep going. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I learned this. We've all learned the hard way. I touched on this earlier, Jolly. I used to bid loads manually. I would call carriers. I'd call people I know. Hey, I got this load. Do you want it? How much can you do it for? I had no idea what I was doing, and I learned a hard lesson.
And that's the big thing there. It's true. So hey, we got a hard cut off here, guys.
Oh.
I appreciate Chris Jolly, the freight coach, coming on. Tony Darnell,
Exactly.
Keep shipping, and don't be tripping. And freight coach.
You're definitely from rural Indiana.
I am a rural guy. So, hey, everybody, thanks for being
coming,
on
Chris.
today. Honestly, great conversations.
Thanks for having me.
We'll have some of the gang back. We'll have Chris on whenever we can, man. He's always got great insight, good energy.